When did someone humiliate you so badly in school that your revenge made national news? In 9th grade, I wore the same busted sneakers every day. Torn soles, duct tape on one toe. I knew how I looked, but I had no choice. My dad had just lost his job at the factory, and my mom was cleaning houses just to keep the lights on. Every penny went to bills, not shoes. I kept to myself, worked hard, and sat in the front row. But there was one guy who wouldn't let me be invisible. Derek Kane. Rich kid, new Jordans every month. Family owned a car dealership chain, and he had this thing where he'd toss coins at me in the hallway. Here, buy yourself a new life, he'd laugh as his friends cracked up. I'd pretend not to care, but inside, it burned. Then one day in bio class, he walked past me, stopped, looked at my shoes, and said loud enough for the room to hear, "Did Goodwill run out of inventory?" Everyone laughed, even the teacher smirked. That night, I went home, locked myself in my room, and cried. Not because I was weak, but because I knew I had to change everything. I didn't want pity, I wanted power, so I made a promise. One day, I'll make it so big that Derek Kane has to ask me for a job. The next day, I started watching free coding tutorials on an ancient Chromebook. Every night, I'd build projects and learn how websites work. I skipped every school dance, every game, every distraction. By the time I graduated, I had a full portfolio of freelance gigs, small ones, like fixing WordPress bugs and designing Shopify stores. But they paid, and more importantly, they taught me how to build. I got into community college, skipped the dorms, and worked nights at a gas station. In class, I studied business. At night, I built my first startup, a tutoring marketplace for high schoolers. I coded it from scratch, onboarded tutors through Reddit and Discord, and pitched it at local business fairs. At 21, we raised seed funding. At 23, we hit our first million in revenue. At 25, we were acquired, and then it happened. My old high school building went up for auction. The district had shut it down after budget cuts. A part of me wanted to just let it go, but the rest of me saw a chance. Not for revenge, but for purpose. I clicked buy now and wired the funds within 3 hours. I bought my old school, all of it. The same hallways where I got humiliated. The same cafeteria where I used to eat alone. But I didn't stop there. I partnered with architects and engineers to turn it into something radical. A free learning incubator. Think STEM labs with 3D printers. Think mental health counselors, mentorship programs, startup coaching. For free. For kids like me. We called it Project Second Chance. For the first open house, we invited the community. Parents, local media, teachers, and yes, alumni. Derek Kane showed up. Of course he did. He wore a designer blazer, sunglasses indoors, and that same smug look. He walked up to me near the front steps and extended his hand. "Didn't expect you to be the guy behind this. Wild." I smiled. "Yeah, small world." He chuckled nervously. "So, listen, my little brother just flunked out of college. Think you guys have any job openings? Maybe something in admin?" I looked him in the eye and paused. "You know, I do have an opening," I said. "Custodial. Starting pays $16 an hour. Includes health benefits." He laughed, thinking I was joking, but I didn't blink. Suddenly, he didn't either. He looked away, cleared his throat, and walked off. That night, I stood in the auditorium, now a digital theater, watching students explore the learning stations I helped build. A girl tapped me on the arm. She had duct tape on her shoes. "Thanks for this," she whispered. It's the first time I felt like I belonged somewhere. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about creating something I never had. The next day, a reporter from the local news called me. "Young entrepreneur buys back his school, turns pain into purpose." That was the headline. It went viral. My inbox exploded with interviews, podcast requests, and even a TEDx invite. I told the full story on stage a month later, about Derek, about the duct tape shoes, about the promise I made in silence. And afterward, a woman came up to me in tears. "My son's been bullied for the same reason. Thank you for giving him hope." Hope, that was what mattered now. Not the headlines, not the money, but the look in that girl's eyes. The one who tapped my arm in the auditorium. Because for every Derek Kane out there are 1,000 kids just trying to survive the hallways dreaming of something more. And maybe now, they'll see it's possible.